Okay, we have our pivot table set up, so we are ready to pull data out of that. Once again, you'll want to make sure that you do have your pivot table filtered to your desired product, in this case product 018, and also that you have the quantity filters set to positive, because we only care about actual sales, not anything to do with returns or any other accounting issues that you have there. So, with the pivot table properly filtered, you can just copy the entire thing with Control C and navigate over to your box plot start. Now, you don't want to, let me show you the wrong thing to do first. If you just use Control V and paste in the data you just copied, it will actually copy the entire pivot table in here. Well, you don't need two pivot tables for what you're doing here. You just need the data itself. So I'm going to Control Z to undo that, and under the home menu you have a paste option. You can choose one of the paste values. I'm going to go with values and source formatting. Okay, then right here at the top I'll just use a Control B, Control U to add bolding and underlining there. And for this process, keep in mind what it is that you're creating here. You want to have all of your data listed by whatever your marketing variable is. In this case, we're doing region, and you want to make sure that you sort it first by that marketing variable, region, and then you want to sort it by price. Specifically, you want to have it descending. So the highest pocket price is listed first, and then going down to the very smallest. As explained earlier, you have to do that just because of how Excel creates the chart, and just essentially the way you want those numbers to stack up. So keep in mind this is what you're going for. So on your box plot start sheet, the data you just copied in, you can just highlight that data, and under data on the menu, select the sort. And this will allow you to sort your data as you need it. As I said, you'll want to first sort it by region. You can have those in alphabetical order from A to Z. And then we're going to sort it by pocket price per quantity. And once again, you want that largest to smallest, descending order. So with that popped in, we can just hit OK. And also, just to make this a little more readable, I'm going to highlight all the values here in the pocket revenue. And if you just hit this comma style here, that will put that all into accounting format. Makes the numbers just a little more readable. All right. And next up, we will want to create two calculations here, the cumulative pocket revenue and the cumulative percent of revenue. So the cumulative pocket revenue, you are going to use a sum-ifs formula for that. It's very similar to a sum-if formula. The only difference is that you put in the order of your parameters is different. So we'll use sum-ifs because it puts your sum range first. So what you're doing here, just highlight the entire column C, just the data itself, for the sum of pocket revenue. And for the criteria range is what are you matching all of these values up to? Well, you're going to be looking in your column A, the region, to match up values. And for this specific row, you're going to match it up with the region value here in A15. Now, what this essentially does is this will allow you to just filter it just for that given region, what we have here so far. Okay, and same thing, we'll put that into accounting. We will put this into accounting formatting, like such. And we do have to make a modification here to the formula. Because In order for this to be cumulative, you're going to want to make sure that you're not always looking at the entire column of data, but as you calculate the cumulative pocket revenue for each subsequent row, you're actually not going to go all the way up to the top. You're going to just go all the way down to the bottom. From whatever row you're at, you're going to go all the way down to the bottom. So the way that you do that is if you just use your cursor to select the second part of your sum range here. In this case, it's C49 on my screen. If you hit F4, that will change that into an absolute value with dollar signs both before the rows and the columns. If you hit F4, it just cycles through your various options depending on whether you want to lock down your row or your column. For our purposes, we want to lock down the row and the column. So you want dollar signs in front of both, but just for the second part of your range, just for the bottom cell there. And then same thing with the second parameter, A49. We want that, the second part of that range to be locked down as well. So if we hit enter here, and let's just extend that down, make sure that our formula is working correctly, which in fact it is. Now, the way to ensure that it is in fact working correctly is you want to look just at a single region. So if you look here just at the very top, the custom region, go all the way down to the very bottom row for that region. And the sum of pocket revenue at that level should be equal to your cumulative pocket revenue. And then with each row that you add, it's going to increase that cumulative pocket revenue, because it's essentially saying this is the amount up to this row, right? And then when you reach the very top of that given region, your cumulative pocket revenue should just equal the sum of all of that pocket revenue for that given region. So the way to verify that, Excel has this wonderful tool where if you just highlight cells at the very bottom, it will give you the sum. And there are a few other options you can add here. It's on your options menu, but the one you care about is the sum. So just by highlighting the cells, it will tell you the sum of that is $6,966.25, which exactly matches the value here in our cumulative pocket revenue calculation. If you highlight one additional cell, the new number 14,405.29, the sum down here at the very bottom of the Excel window exactly matches what we have here for our cumulative pocket revenue calculation. And you can check all the other values as well. Just get comfortable with it. See that the formula is in fact working for all of these. So that is the harder one of the two formulas here. The cumulative percent of revenue is significantly easier. All you have to do there is just take the value you just put in column D here, and you want to divide that by another sum-ifs formula. In this case, you're just going to be looking for the entire sum of all of the revenue for that given region. And the way to do that easily, it's very similar to what we just put together, but there are some differences, which I'll point out. So for the first parameter in your sum-ifs formula, just select your entire pocket revenue range. And you can hit F4 here, and when you hit F4 after you've just selected a range, that puts dollar signs in front of all of the cells and all of the columns for the entire range. You can see here both the beginning part of the range and the end part of the range both have those dollar signs now, which is exactly what you want. And for the criteria range, you're going to come over here to region again, select the entire column, use F4 again to lock down both the start and end of that range, and then put in a comma to put in your final parameter. You're just going to select the region for this specific row. Just like that. And for this, let's put this into a nice percentage format. And I will add a few decimal places here just so you can see what the underlying values are, just in case something is rounding to one of the percentiles we need in our box plot. Okay, and extend that down. And okay, just like that, we have all of our percentile levels. We have our data broken up by the marketing variable, region in this case. We can see all the pocket prices that item that item in that region was purchased at, and we also have a cumulative revenue calculation, pocket revenue for that given region. So we know where all the prices, what percentiles they're coming in at. So now our next goal is we just need to pull out the percentiles that we specifically need for creating our box plot. The 5, 25, 50, 75, 95. So let's see. Really quickly before I go on to that, just take one more look at these two formulas you put together and notice the differences. Note that the second formula, you did use absolute references for your first two parameters because for every single row, you are interested in what the entire column there has. You just want to find for every single record that has, in this case, custom region, what is the total pocket revenue that's showing up in this data set. And once again, on the very first one, you were only measuring things from whatever row you're doing the calculation on, putting in the formula, all the way down to the bottom. You don't go all the way up to the top. So that's why you had to make sure that you locked that second reference for all of those formulas. Okay, so we are all set here on to actually calculating our percentiles.